Dun, dun, da, da. Your wedding day. Eh, eh, eh. The crying of your firstborn baby. Can you remember that one moment in your life that changed you forever? Well, for me, that was February 26, 2016, and I was at the height of my life. My son had two successful sneaker stores. My daughter was a professional dancer in the NBA, and I was in the best physical shape of my life. And if you're a woman over 40, you know how challenging that can be. So on this particular day, everything was going great. I came home from work. I got my son, and he's in the car, and he loved Lil Wayne, and he's screaming, blaring it in my ear. And I'm like, turn it down. So I'm driving him to work, and this is our mommy son time. Wonderful. He's telling me about his girlfriend, about his life. And then I go to take him to work. And right before he gets out the car, I turn over and I look at him, and there's this beautiful sun ray just coming straight across his face, and his teeth look so white. And he gives me this big, beautiful smile, and he says, "Love you, Ma," and gives me a kiss on the cheek. And then he gets out the car. Great day. So let's fast forward to later on that day. I get a phone call about 9, 10 at night from my daughter, and she's screaming on the phone, "Something happened to Molly! Get to Rahway now!" And at first, I'm a little concerned, but I'm not concerned because something's always going on with my son. So I get in the car and I'm driving to Rahway, and I call his cell phone, no answer. I call the police department, the hospitals. I even called the mayor of the town because nobody's telling me anything. It's about a 20-minute drive to Rahway, and I'm speeding down the highway. And when I get to the block where his shop is, I look and I see yellow construction tape blocking the entire street. As I look down the street, I see about 50, 60 people just standing there. I see lights, police cars, ambulances. So I get out the car and I start running. It's freezing cold. My daughter is still on the phone with me. She's like, "Don't get off the phone." I'm running and I'm huffing and I'm puffing. I'm very worried, very scared at this point. No idea what's going on. So I get to the shop and I pull the door, and a police officer grabs me from behind. He says, "You can't go in." He says nothing else to me. At this point in time, I realize something is wrong. I look around and everyone's just standing there. No one's saying anything to me. So I look at the police officer and I just stop him. And I look at him in his eyes and I said, "Where is my son?" And he looks at me and he says, "I'm sorry, miss, your son is dead." Now let's rewind to an hour prior to this. My son and six of his friends are sitting in the back of the shop, just hanging out after hours, and they get a knock on the door. "Police, open up!" So everyone's hesitant about opening the door, but my son says, "Open up the door." So they open up the door, and everything I'm about to share with you, I actually saw on videotape. So they open the door, and there's two men standing there with guns. And as I'm watching the video, it's like watching a movie. It's in slow motion. There's two guys with guns. They have ski masks on. I do see that one of them has hair on their face. And everyone runs out the door. And my son takes his cup and he throws it in the guy's face. And he starts fighting one of the guys. And then the guy's gun fell out his hand. And the second guy takes his gun and puts it on his shoulder and shoots him in the shoulder. And then you see him scuttling on the floor. Now let's go back to when I was outside and the police officer tells me, "Your son is dead." Corey, one of my son's friend, ran out with the other guys, but he realized Jamal's not here. So he goes back into the shop and he sees him laying on the ground, and he starts scooping the blood out of his mouth, trying to save his life. So when he comes outside to me, he hugs me. Now, this is a grown man, about 6'3", over 300 pounds, and he hugs me and he just collapses on me. And he's crying and he's sobbing. And I said, "Did he suffer?" And he said, "No." And at that moment in time, I knew my life had changed forever. This is where I come up with my word traumedy. A traumedy is when the energies of a trauma and a tragedy collide together. At that moment, life changing experiences occur for everyone. We've all gone through these. It could be a divorce, it could be empty nest syndrome, maybe even losing the loss of a family member. But I had to make a decision at that time. Was I going to push through and fight and charge, or was I going to go into a ball and give up and not push up? Well, I realized my son would not want that for me. He would want me to push through. And how I came over this trauma and turned it into a triumph, I did what he did. I found out he was an organ donor. So even in his death, he was still giving back. He told one of his friends if he ever died, he wanted a nonprofit named after himself. So I started a nonprofit. This year makes 7 years that we've been honoring him, celebrating his life. We've done activities like 5K races. We've done basketball tournaments with the young men. And this past year, I collected 300 pairs of sneakers to send to Nigeria in his honor. So the way I overcame this was by giving back, living his life to the fullest. And that's what I want to invite you to do. If you're going through any type of trauma, just remember you have the strength to push through. God has given us all the strength and the power. You just have to believe in yourself and have a little bit of faith. Faith like that mustard seed they talk about a lot. Yes. And when it comes to those times and you're dark and you're sad, just remember, go into those dark places. Go into that stillness, because that's where you're going to build your strength. That's where you're going to build your confidence. That's where you're going to triumph and reach all your goals. That's what I do. Thank you so much for sharing. And my goal today was to empower you and let you realize you can achieve anything. Thank you.